Now you can't be making claims like this and leaving it like this and not expect me to use some of that Taekwondo I learned when I was a kid right on it.
Every now and then you find yourself in a shit spot when you got to tighten something up. You can't get in there. You have some sort of job to do and you can't do it because you don't have what you needed. What you do have won't suffice. Like in this case, I've got to tighten these glands that hold in these cables, make sure they're nice and tight. The only trouble is you can't fit any tool up here because it's going to foul on this side wall here. Luckily, we've welded up a bit of a solution. Now, this may look rugged and rough around the edges, but it is actually one of the most handiest tools I've ever had. Straight out of the scrap metal bin, we've got a couple of flat bars welded together to the perfect width of the gland. Chucked it on a bit of rebar just for the extension so we can turn it from underneath. And then in order to turn this thing, because it's going to be really, really long, and you don't want to have to fashion up an elbow because it's not always going to work in every situation and whatnot, we went ahead and chucked on a big 16mm nut on the end of this. This just makes it easy so we can just use anything, any old ratchet, anything. As long as we've got the socket for it, it's going to work. So as you can see, this works a treat. It absolutely dominates the glands. It's exactly what we needed, and we threw it together. Took like 5 minutes and some scrap steel. And it got me thinking, there's a whole lot of other stuff around the site that I'm currently on and other sites and around people's homes and stuff that people have just thrown together out of bits and pieces, just had to go. And it is a fully solid stand-in for the correct bought tool, or they don't even make the correct bought tool. This one works so well, we ended up making a shorter one for over the transformer side because that needed and called for it. Another example is this folder. This was just whipped together out of some scrap steel. You know, it's the classic design. You find this design everywhere, but it's used to fold over the edges of these guards, and they're coming out perfectly. You know, it's just bolted on the edge of a bench. A few bolts, bit of scrap steel, and they're on their way. This might have taken someone all of an hour to, cut up the bits, weld the few bits together, drill a couple of holes, they've scabbed some pipe from somewhere, and all of that, and then they're making real good stuff. And, someone's obviously run a grinder to try and make a finger in this, swap it out if they need to. But, all in all, this folder, it's folding. It's doing its job. They're making the guards with it, they're installing the guards, everybody's happy. And it took like an hour. I mean, just the fact that if you were to buy one, you'd either have to drive an hour to get it, and then you'd only use it this one time for this one job if you're not doing it all the time. I mean, it could have been made a little bit nicer. If I was making one for in my own personal shop, I'd definitely make it a lot nicer. But sometimes you just throw stuff together, gets the job done, and then you don't care afterwards. Take this spanner, for example. They needed a big old spanner. And I know for a fact this wasn't plasma cut. It was done on site in the workshop, so in the boilie bay there. It looks very good for how it is, but you can, if you look hard enough, see some of the, imperfections. So they made a few of these, and then at one point they even decided getting a bit hard to turn these big old nuts, these little flogging size spanners. So someone went and welded himself a bit of a scaff tube on there. Strong like bull, smart like tractor, or some. I don't know. I don't drag your knuckles. But one of them big guys, like knuckle draggers. He did it. This is what we call three-phase testing rig. It's basically the cheapest way that we can make a single-phase RCD tester test three-phase. What we do is we take this big plug here, we boost that into the three-phase outlet, for welding, whatever they do, run it through this box and chuck out a couple of extra plugs. This way that when we're using it, we can just plug it into any one of these, test it, trip it, we know that the earth leakage is working, and Bob's your auntie. Speaking of knuckle draggers, sometimes the dudes with the worst jobs and the hardest jobs get even made harder because people won't buy them the right gear. This is what they've had to make to bend rebar, and it's already a hard job. Why wouldn't they just get them a hydraulic bender? Either way, they get results with this, and they're happy with it. What we have here is my ring roller that I threw together. Ignore the spatter and the tacks of the welds. I couldn't be bothered grinding off the galv, so I just turned the amps up and tacked it all together. It's not supposed to be a permanent thing. This went in the bin like the next day. But It somewhat worked. I wouldn't say it worked perfectly, but it somewhat worked, and it was a bit of fun to throw together in an hour. If I was to do it all again, I'd either buy a new one or model it heavily off a good one. This is the sash clamp the welder made. He had nothing to clamp big pieces together with, so he came up with this. It's genius and it works, and it's, you know, it's not new technology, it's old technology, but when you're stuck, this thing was like absolute perfect. It really was a game changer. In the middle of nowhere, there was no shop to go near to, middle of absolute nowhere. If we were to want to buy a clamp of some sort, it would have taken at least a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months to get there. That's how remote we were. This did the job. This lasted him the whole job. No complaints. And it's just a testament to sometimes making your own stuff is just the way to go. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm sorry about the audio. A lot of this was re-recorded over, dubbed over, because I had a lot of background noises going on and some of the audio quality was just terrible. If you made it this far and you've made yourself some sort of cool homemade tool at home or anything cool like that, let us know down the bottom. Otherwise, cheers for watching. Catch ya.